Hey everybody, Chuck Barone. It is Monday, October the 9th, 2023. We're off and running on another week of crazy, man. Got a new war starting. But today kind of an odd day with it being Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day, depending on if you're Italian or not. And so the bond market closed today. The rest of the market's kind of having a nice lazy day. I think most of Wall Street wanted to have the day off today. So we had kind of a weird market today, but stock market had a good day today. Stocks rallying, not much volume there, but stocks on a positive. The Dow jumps 197 points, 33,604 on the Dow. The Nasdaq up 52 points, sitting at 13,484. And the S&P, the broader market, more nice rally there, up 27, sitting at 4,335. So decent day for stocks. Not big volume by any means. So it wasn't like some runaway bull day, but a good day. We'll see how it holds up. We got a lot of data coming this week that's going to be hugely important. Okay, so the bond market, as I mentioned, bonds closed today for the holiday. Surprised that stocks would trade and bonds wouldn't, but that's the way they do it. So no news on rates today, but I think tomorrow, well, we'll see how the bond market absorbs the news. And we got no real data tomorrow, but starting Wednesday, all kind of fun stuff coming. So bond market's going to have an interesting week this week. The dollar today basically flat down, very, very small, 2 basis points or whatever, sitting at 106.04. So coming down off the high around 107, but still very strong position. But because of a little weakness in the dollar today, metals had a nice little rally. Gold jumps $29.10. A good day for gold, sitting at $1,862.20 for an ounce of gold. Silver up 28 cents today, $21.87 for an ounce of silver. So a good, decent day for gold and silver as well. Oil today, well, we know about the war now, right? You got the Palestinians, Hamas, Hezbollah, and their Iranian puppet masters attacking Israel. So oil prices have a big jump whenever there's anything in the Middle East. We get this. Gold or oil today, black gold, oil up $3.56 per barrel, sitting at $86.35 for a barrel of West Texas Intermediate. Hugely disappointing to me. Oil prices finally were coming down, sitting at around $80 last week. We're looking to see some relief at the gas pump. Now we get this. I mean, we've seen this movie 100 times. We know how this is going to end. So the Palestinians attack Israel. Israel fights back 10 times harder because they have way more weaponry than the Palestinians do. Palestinians kind of get subdued. Israel gets tarred as a bully and all kind of negative for them. And in the meantime, we all pay more at the gas pumps, and all of the Arab countries, the oil producers, benefit from it. Wow. Okay, so oil, there it is. Bitcoin today falls down. Bitcoin really kind of been working a little bit different than lately. It's been rising and falling with the market. Not so much today, though. Bitcoin down $281, sitting at $27,613. Still a good, strong number, but looked like it was rallying pretty strong. So a surprise little setback today for Bitcoin. All right, so let's talk about, as we do every Monday, the data we're going to be getting this week. This is important stuff to kind of give us a clue as to what days we really need to be paying attention to these markets. What kind of data are we going to get this week that could affect these markets and our own portfolios? So today, Columbus Day, very quiet day, no new data coming. Tomorrow will also be a quiet day as far as data goes. All we're going to really get tomorrow will be wholesale inventories. Now this is an important one though, because if wholesale inventories start to pile up, they start to, their inventories are growing, that typically means prices are going to come down. Because they want to get rid of these inventories and they'll move them at a discount to move them, right? So these numbers are important tomorrow. We'll see where that ends up. On Wednesday is going to be a big start of it all. We'll get the mortgage bankers index, a little more data about real estate, which we know is tanking. We'll also on Wednesday get the PPI numbers, Producer Price Index numbers. Producer Price Index numbers are supposed to be favorable, showing inflation last month up 0.3% as opposed to 0.7 the previous month. 0.3 is nothing great, guys. Okay, that's still 3.6 per year. Okay, core is expected to rise 0.2 versus the 0.2 it rose last month. So we'll see. PPI numbers, as I've told you guys, important numbers because they foreshadow what's going to happen soon with PPI numbers, right? Or with CPI numbers. So the producer prices, if they rise, typically they're going to pass the costs of that rose along to the consumer. So CPI typically going to rise in tandem with that. So as long as PPI keeps rising, which it has been, and pretty bigly last month, right? 0.7. That's 8.5% inflation a year. So you're going to see that always reflected in the CPI numbers, that those costs get sent down and paid for by consumers. So big day Wednesday with the PPI numbers. Now Thursday, we're going to get CPI numbers. So what they're expecting for CPI on Thursday, they're expecting top line CPI to sit at 3.6%, down from 3.7 last month. So they're expecting a little bit of a gain, or a little bit of relief, I guess. And core is expected to sit at 4.1%, down from 4.3. So they're expecting inflation numbers to get marginally better. I think that if those numbers came in 3.6, 4.1, it still tells us that the Fed has a lot of work to do to get to 2% or below target. I think that those numbers come in at there, it just foreshadows that rate increase we're going to get at the end of this month. And I think November 1st is actually the day that the meeting ends. November the 1st is a Wednesday, and that's usually the day Powell has his little pressers. So we'll see where that goes, but those numbers are not going to be great. And if we get a surprise upside on PPI or CPI, Katie bar the door, man. And I've been telling you guys, when we got the hot jobs numbers last week, there's not going to have a perfect path to this perfect landing they're talking about. It's just bullshit. So know that there's going to be a bump, and these are some of the numbers that could be those bumps. Also on Thursday, we're going to get jobless claims, which they've been trying to beat. Now they're expecting jobless claims to basically be flat from where they were last week. We'll see. Jobs have been hot. And that number showing job creation last month, almost doubling what they were expecting. So we'll see where jobless claims come. And then on Friday to finish out the week, nothing big. We'll get the import price index, which is expected to show a 0.6% increase month over month. That's huge, man. That's 7.2% a year increase on import prices. And we'll also get the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey, which is expected to fall to 67.2 from 68.1. That one's a nice survey, though, because it gives us a lot of extra data on consumers. By the way, consumer spending last month falling flat on its ass. I'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. But consumer spending really down, especially for big ticket stuff. Cars really taking a little bit of a tanking. Credit cards, of course, still up. But we'll go into some detail on consumer spending tomorrow. A little bit of news today, not much, but I was reading this article. It started to really piss me off, man. So we have Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, which every time I mention her name, I have to question how she got to be Treasury Secretary and also previously Chairman of the Federal Reserve. What is her strength, man? It certainly is not getting a good message out there. It's certainly not public speaking. So Yellen says the U.S. investors and the U.S. citizens should expect the dollar to weaken as the world's reserve currency. U.S. dollar being used 8% less this year than it was last year as a reserve currency. Yellen, genius, says that this is a natural way for foreign governments to diversify. What only an idiot would say something like that and believe anybody's going to believe it. I mean, really. The US dollar was made the world's reserve currency because at the time of the agreement, Bretton Woods, the US government was thought to be the most stable government on earth. We have elections, we had a peaceful transfer of power, our government functioned and did good things, the US was the largest creditor in the world. There was a lot of reasons to believe that the United States was qualified to stand as the world's reserve currency, right? Number one, we had the most outstanding credit in the world. Number two, we were the largest creditor in the world. Number three, our government was functioning. Our leadership was respected around the world. Well, we were stable, no longer. Most of the countries around the world do not look at us the way they once did. Look at the most recent examples from our geniuses in Washington. First, we have the debt ceiling fight. And what I was saying when it was going down, they know they're going to raise the limit. They got to put on this big drama because that riles up the base and they can raise money $5 at a freaking time, right? Now, all that did was threaten a gigantic global financial panic, and it cost the United States our AAA credit rating. Genius. Now, what are we doing? Now we have a budget crisis. Funding the government becomes a big deal. Funding the government for 45 days now cost the Speaker of the House his job. For the first time in the history of the United States, a Speaker of the House has been removed from his post. The gavel taken away. And why? Why? Because he worked with the other team to keep the government functioning. Okay, so now we wonder why people don't trust the US dollar or the US government. Not to mention the way we've weaponized the dollar in the global market to use against our enemies, like we did with Russia, like we're trying to do with China, like we've done with numerous countries, Iran and other countries around the world. We're going to use our strength as the dollar's reserve currency as a weapon against our enemies and to have our way. Well, of course, it's shocking news that these countries don't want the dollar to be the reserve currency anymore. The US, man, it used to be what it is no longer. It's just really sad watching this all happen, this tragedy play out in slow motion. And the worst part about it is the public is cheering these numbskulls on in their idiocy. The dumber the shit they do, the more votes they get, and the more money they raise. So we're encouraging this behavior, and not only is it costing us here in the US as our country is dysfunctional, it's costing us our reputation and our status around the world. Just to do this play-acting political fucking nonsense. Anyway, guys, that's it for the day. It was kind of a weird day today. We'll be back tomorrow to get this week cranked up. Tomorrow will be a quiet day. We'll have a little bit of commentary for you guys about the war, oil, a little bit more about consumer spending. Should be an interesting day and an interesting week. We're going to be here to bring you guys all the gory details. As always, we appreciate your guys' support. If you can, please hit the like button. It changes the algorithm. It helps get our video out there to more people. As always, hit me up with your questions and comments. And we'll be back tomorrow to bring you guys the news you need. Till then, guys, take care. Thanks.